So non-duality means literally not two, just like Advaita Vedanta means not two, that which is one. And it's easy to say not two, but to live from that oneness, to actually the full extent of what's possible as the one. It's not always obvious to us when we're waking up along the pathway. Most of us, we start out our spiritual search by feeling that we are someone, trying to wake up, trying to get away from suffering, trying to realize the self. And then we may have some glimpse or some seeing or some opening up to realize that what we are is not at all what we thought we were. We're not actually a separate being, that we are something, excuse me, something so much more fundamentally whole than that. The separate being was an idea that is happening inside something so much bigger that we really are. And a lot of people then begin to equate non-duality with formlessness. They say, okay, that's what that is. I know what that is. I know what I am. I've done some self-inquiry and I've come to see that I'm not a human being at all. I'm not a separate being. What I actually am is insubstantial and formless. And that can feel very, very comfortable for a while. That can be a really nice place to hang out for a while after you've been caught up in the idea for a very long time that you are this separate being who's suffering and trying to come out of that. And non-duality kind of gets this halfway meaning where it means, I am formless and I'm not responsible for any of my karma. Anything that happened while I was a separate being is just kind of not real, not true. And we almost can find ourselves avoiding any further growth by hanging out in the formlessness. And I did it myself for a while. And for a while, it was very, very nice to not be someone at all that was suffering and to just be peaceful. But non-duality really means, as we said before, oneness. And oneness cannot be the state that we're living in if there is something that we are excluding from our definition of truth. By the very fact that we're excluding something, then it is not one. There is two. There is what I'm including, what I'm calling truth, and what I'm calling falsehood, or what is real and what is illusion. So the fullest aspect of non-duality is when we have seen the absolute reality. We have seen that nothing is actually what it looks like. Everything is made of this nothingness, including everything we see and use and everyone we interact with. Everything is really this formless awareness, this self appearing to be something. We kind of have a profound seeing of that. But then the fullness of what it means to be one means that we must begin to eventually re-include everything back into our definition of what is real. So even the illusion that we perhaps discarded, the separate sense of self completely, has to be set aside to realize the formlessness that is everywhere. But then the oneness doesn't want to. The truest meaning of non-duality means not to, not even reality and illusion am I holding in my definition of what's real. And this is really the fullest emergence of love that a human being can experience, because there is nothing at that point I'm excluding. Even what I used to call illusion, separate sense of self, has to be re-included in that. And for most people, at first there is an avoidance to doing that. We really don't want to go back and look at our karmic patterns, our situations in our life that are kind of a little screwed up, or let's just say not flowing as well as they could. and go back into that from the wisdom that we now have, having seen clearly that everything is formless. And there'll be a reluctance to do that. There was for myself, but when I began to actually to do that, to see that the formless is also including the form, the someoneness, the nothingness, the nobodiness that we really are, is also inclusive of the someoneness, the sense of someone. That the absolute reality also includes the relative reality of this world, this this and that, and you and me, and rich and poor, and high and low, and happy and sad, and all of that has to be re-included into it. That there is no difference between the individual soul and the absolute reality, that they are one and the same, that they are synonyms for each other. Or as they say in the East, that the jiva, the individual soul, is Shiva, that there is no difference between my sense of being someone and the Supreme Being. And that is the fullest place we can live our life from as human beings. And it's a natural outcome of realizing what you actually are. It is eventually wanting to go back into my life as I knew it, and allow the truth that we've seen to pervade through my body, my mind, my relationships, my career, my finances. Everything that makes me me is going to be gently embraced in this loving presence, this formless awareness, the self that we really are. So it cannot be one if there are two. If there's something you are still excluding, as sort of saying it's not real, it's not the truth, eventually it's going to have to be allowed back into your definition of what you are, what all this is. So we come full circle. We start off being someone on a pathway, waking up, and then we realize we're not anybody at all. And then full circle back to including the somebodyness, but from the real place of seeing that this body, all of this is made from that pure formless essence. There is no better way that we can experience life as a human being than from the conscious realization, the effortless realization, and the continuous knowingness of what we actually are, and then to go about our human lives, to fully embrace the individual way that the self is appearing as you, as your life, as your likes and dislikes, as your preferences, as your personality, as your food choices, as your music choices, what you love to watch on the TV, all of that makes you you. You're and the unique way that the self can even express itself through a relationship. All of that is the way that the one being is appearing as your life. And the truth will really want to come back and embrace all of your humanness, or perhaps all the parts that we've been trying to get away from at first. Will have to come back and be looked at in the light of this awareness. And in fact, it is actually possible then. There are things in all of our lives that are impossible to heal, to come to a resolution about, from the sense that we are a separate being. There are things that are absolutely challenging to embrace, and even impossible to embrace as a separate being. And then to come back and re-embrace them from the place of wholeness, from seeing that we were always safe, that we were never actually in any danger, that we have never ultimately suffered as the absolute reality, even though it seemed extraordinarily real while it was happening. This dream of being someone, this very, very long dream that someone is all I am. We can finally embrace a healing from that place. The highest evolution that the self is capable of is as a human being, living as a human being that is appearing as a human being that's self-aware and knows its real source, knows what it actually is, and yet at the same time is absolutely embracing their humanity, absolutely embracing all that comes with that, being 100% authentic in every moment, whatever that looks like. If it's a negative emotion or some trigger happening inside the body, if it is something happening, going wrong in the outside world, something going right, all of that that makes you you is wanting to be loved by the self. And if you're not already feeling this, then it will eventually happen as your seeing deepens. It's all right for a while to hang out in the, none of this is real, all of this is an illusion, and only the formlessness is real. And that is true, that is true. But that formlessness that is real can also appear as form. It's also appearing as all this form. And you won't feel complete totally until you've re-embraced everything that makes you you, your quirks, your perceived flaws that aren't really flaws, your character traits that you would like to release, things that you would like to develop, perhaps, whatever it is that you want to become. All of that is also included in the perfection of who you are. And seen from the formless awareness that you are, it's not a fix-it-up project. It's an expression, an emergence of love. All of us can always do more to love ourselves, our humanity. And I would just urge you really to see if there is anything that you are rejecting as not me or not real, and see if you can re-include that back into your wholeness,